How's it going, everyone? I'm Taylor from PhoneDog.com, and the last 4 months in the mobile world have been a complete blur. There have been dozens of product announcements and launches, and that's great. We love new phones and gadgets, but it causes a problem for consumers, particularly those who are not familiar with the territory, who might not know the specifications of the software and what they might entail. And I composed a list yesterday for Verizon, my top 5 Verizon smartphones for the holidays, and today I've prepared a list for AT&T, my top 5 AT&T smartphones for the holidays. What are those top 5? How do all the phones stack up against one another? In my eyes, let's find out. My number 5 AT&T smartphone this holiday season is the Apple iPhone 5. It's a great step up from the iPhone 4S, but it's feeling a little dated. I've said that a dozen times now. Apple hasn't really changed its software in 5 years, and it's feeling a little old. It's not aging well, and it needs a facelift. But the hardware is great. It's on par with everything else out there. The A6 chip, the 4-inch Retina display is gorgeous. LTE is great, and the camera is amazing, just like it always has been. And the battery it's decent too. However, the software is kind of holding it back. It's keeping it down there, and that's why it's my number 5 smartphone. It's great, but it's not the best. I had trouble choosing a number 4 device in this list, and that's because there are 2 Windows phones on AT&T that are very similar. Ultimately, I chose the Nokia Lumia 920. It has a 4.5-inch PureMotion HD Plus display, a 1.5 GHz dual-core Snapdragon S4 processor, 32 GB of built-in storage, 1 GB of RAM, and a 2,000 mAh battery. Now, what really sets it apart from the Windows Phone 8X by HTC, which would have been my other choice for number 4, are the wireless charging, NFC, and the 8-megapixel PureView camera. It has optical image stabilization, and it opens the shutter for longer in low light situations to capture more light. It gives you a much better picture in low light situations, and I'm a sucker for a great camera, at least in a smartphone. So that's why the Nokia Lumia 920 gets my vote for number 4. I did a little flip-flopping back and forth between the number 3 and the number 2 smartphones in this list, and I ultimately settled with the LG Optimus G as number 3 for AT&T this holiday season. It has a 4.7-inch True HD IPS Plus display, a 1.5 GHz quad-core Snapdragon S4 Pro chipset, 16 GB of built-in storage, 2 GB of RAM, and a 2100 mAh battery. It also comes with a 16 GB microSD card pre-installed in the card slot. And specifications are great. It compares with pretty much everything else out there. But specifications aren't everything. It's not a pretty device. It's boxy and it's old and it looks like the old Galaxy S2s. But it's still a great phone, and it's my number 3 AT&T smartphone this year. So what outs the LG Optimus G for number 2? That would be the HTC One X Plus. Specification-wise, they're very similar. The One X Plus has a 4.7-inch Super LCD 2 display that's 720p. It has 64 GB of built-in storage, 1 GB of RAM, a 1.7 GHz Tegra 3 quad-core processor, and it has no microSD card slot, the same 2100 mAh battery. But what sets them apart? Software and design. The One X Plus, just like the One X before it, is gorgeous. It's actually one of my favorite phone designs out there. And the software, it's Sense 4 Plus, and that's with Jelly Bean. And Sense 4 is actually one of the few custom skins that I can take. I'm not a big fan of LG's, but Sense 4 Plus and the design are what set this one at number 2. You all probably know by now that I love phablets and extra large smartphones. So the fact that I chose the Samsung Galaxy Note 2 as my number 1 AT&T smartphone this holiday season should come as no surprise. It has a 5.5-inch HD Super AMOLED Plus display, a 1.6 GHz quad-core Exynos processor, 2 GB of RAM, 16 GB of built-in storage, a microSD card slot, and a 3100 mAh battery. But what really set it apart from the competition are the software features like multi-window, S-Note, and pop-up browser that make it more than just a phone. It's a phablet. It has the ability to run simultaneous apps. And it has the S Pen, which is a smart stylus with a button. And it allows you to unlock other features of the phone like quick commands or easy screen captures that make it more than just a phone or just a stylus with your phone. To recap, my top 5 AT&T smartphones this holiday season are the Apple iPhone 5 in 5th place. Number 4 is the Nokia Lumia 920. Number 3 is the LG Optimus G. 2 is the HTC One X Plus, and the top phone is the Samsung Galaxy Note 2 in number 1. Thanks for watching, and I hope this helps, and stay tuned to PhoneDog for more.